Hey, good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of What You Gotta Say. It's Tuesday, and as always, I usually have three wise ones, but let's see how many we're going to rustle up today. And we're going to finish up our part of prayer and understanding, and also talk about some current events, and also primaries in Georgia. It's the trumpeters versus the rest of the world all over again. So we're going to discuss that. So grab a snack, and I'll see you all in 2 minutes, 2 seconds.
Your small business struggled through the pandemic to stay afloat. You need more exposure. Radio and printed ads are good for pet liners. Television commercials are overpriced. Social media ads start cheap, end up expenses. You need an ad team that can get you multimedia exposure. You need MyTV. MyTV will develop a commercial tailored to your business. To get your maximum sales, contact sales@theratemytv.church.
Life has many twists and turns, and it can take you off track. Disakajo's Flow is here to help you dance through the twists and lean into the turns. From spiritual trauma-informed life coaching, to book publishing, to record producing, to credit empowerment, to amazing travel, we are here to change your whole life. Let us help you get your life back on track.
Okay, and welcome back. And as usual, we've got one of the three wise men today, hailing from New Shoal of America. He is the undisputed best-looking man in a sweater vest I've ever met. Say hello, everybody, to Rabbi Seth Frisch.
Thank you all, and thank you, Vince. Great to be here.
I'm always glad to have you, Rabbi. So, let's get into it. Now, last week we were talking to the point of actual exhaustion on this situation with the, of course, replacement theory of white supremacy. So, why do they feel that every person of color or a non-white or a binary is out to replace them? Any insight on that, Rabbi?
You know, I have to say the whole thing caught me really off guard. You know, years ago during Charlottesville, when I heard all these people with tiki torches, you know, speaking and going on and on, I didn't know what they were talking about. Jews will not replace us. I literally had no idea whatsoever, and it's taken me a long time to track it all down. Really.
I lost you.
Oh, really? Because okay.
Say that again.
So okay, it's a good rehearsal for me at least.
Okay, we're experiencing some technical difficulties, so we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back and see if we can get Rabbi to actually talk. Now, for those of you who know the show, I did not mute him, okay? Be right back. Okay, so we took care of some technical issues. So, go ahead, Rabbi. You were saying, the guys in what was it, George,
Charlottesville.
Charlottesville?
Charlottesville, right.
Yes, where the gentleman decided to take his car and turn it into a weapon of mass destruction.
Interestingly enough, that didn't catch my attention. I mean, I should, whenever there's a loss of human life, but what really caught my attention was when these fellows with those tiki torches were walking down the road chanting, "Jews will not replace us." And I thought to myself, how did we get caught up in this? I thought this was Civil War issue. And, things happen. I mean, they always draw the Jews into this. So I had to ask some of my friends, what's this replacement theory all about? Where'd it come from? I don't know. Had you ever heard of it before, Vince? I'm not sure.
Yes, replacement theory origin started in the 70s with that little thing where the government decided to put black people in management positions. What was that called?
That's a new one on me.
In the corporate world?
I don't know.
That,
hiring and firing. I'm not sure. What
yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's been so long. In fact, Colin Powell talked about it, and they booed him. The Republicans booed him.
Interesting. Well, in my research, I found a slightly different path to understanding, and I found out that there was some kind of a book written in France written by this fellow Camus, Camus, and he talked about the immigration to Europe of people, mostly North African, Near Eastern. And he wrote about this idea that Europeans were seeing these peoples from Islam and Africa and various places there immigrating and replacing, at least in the eyes of these Europeans, replacing them in jobs and homes and properties and the like. So I really, I just couldn't figure out how this managed to migrate to Charlottesville in a Civil War memorial issue. It really confounded me and surprised me. So I'm not sure, Vince. Were you able to hear just now what I had been?
I heard
saying?
everything you said.
Oh, interesting, because I saw. Okay, interesting. So anyway, the long and the short of it is, not to go on any further, I did find out one thing, that a lot of white nationalists, they were fringe at the time, said that the Jews were masterminding this influx, if you will, into America, peoples of color.
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating.
I mean, don't Jews have a lot, on their plate right now, with those laser cannons and all those people that they were supposed to have allegedly assassinated?
Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene has not been returning my call for the past few weeks, so I'm really not.
Yours either?
I know, it's shocking to me, really. And but I had wanted to ask her, how did the Jews get in control of these lasers from outer space? But then someone else told me, or maybe I read it in the newspaper, that the Rothschilds, who are no longer Jewish, they were Jewish like 500 to 1,000 years ago, but the Rothschilds, who are known as Jews, at least to these white nationalists, financed the lasers in outer space to blind people that the Jews really felt weren't very good. So,
yeah. Oh, wait a minute. So the Rothschilds lost their Jewish card?
Apparently. I mean, I think some of them are still in, but not all of them,
Yeah, I mean, we've got a list of black people who lost theirs, like Clarence Thomas, Lionel Richie, Tim Kaine.
None of them went over, if you'll pardon the expression, to the dark side. But some of them, managed to fade away in history. And I think we would call it, the slow reduction of pigmentation in the gene pool, and they just faded away.
No, I think I think it's truly called when cousins mate.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
Things you never know until you come on this show.
Their family tree doesn't branch out; it just goes straight up.
A little bit like Jack and the Beanstalk, but that's for another television moment. But in any case, the Jews have been fingered, if you will, as somehow masterminding peoples of color being brought into the country or being brought into your jobs, whatever your jobs are. And the Jews, according to this theory, have, this replacement idea. They've managed to move out perfectly good white working people, family people, wonderful people, and put black people, peoples of color, various other ethnicities in their place. And it's hard to believe until, of course, you come to understand that some people will believe anything.
Well, let's see. The actual replacement theory started in the 19th century, called affirmative action,
Interesting.
where, according to white people, black people were replacing them on their big dollar making jobs. But according to black people, they were given, they sat there with masters and doctorates, and they were still given mediocre, lower level management.
Hmm. Apparently, people forgot to mention Booker T. Washington, and who happened to have been one of the most brilliant people of his time period. I guess he must have replaced someone even more brilliant than him. And there's many more than Booker T. So
Well, I mean, Booker T had a great philosophy, and I do understand it. And in fact, it's one of the things which is used today. And Booker T was thinking that no, people of color should invest more into trades, rather than college. And the other great thinkers of African American thinkers were no, they should go into higher learning and education and perform and get things like doctorates and Juris Doctorates. Yet, that continues to go on, which reminds me of a joke. Plumber goes to a doctor's house, repairs the sink, hands him a bill, $450. The doctor says, "Wait, $450? I only get $120 for a house call." The plumber said, "Yeah, when I was a doctor, I only got $120 for a house call too."
Fascinating. And I would normally laugh because that's really funny, but I don't have a sense of humor. So I'm sorry. This is me laughing. So I want you to know that.
Wow. All that joy inside of you is just bubbling out.
Well,
But
it's the human condition. It's the human condition that I'm experiencing right now. But wait, I listen. Here's what I find ironic. File this under irony. Every time there's some problem, in society or God only knows where, and I mean that God only knows where, it seems like blacks and Jewish people or Jews, whatever you want to call us, could be peoples of color and peoples of faith. I don't know. Whenever that happens,
what do you prefer?
It all depends on your tone. If someone calls me, a Jew and they use a bad tone, truthfully, I don't like it. But if someone says you're Jewish or you're a Jew, that's fine with me. I just don't like it when people are running after me with pitchforks, scythes, and spears and guns, or the rope. I don't like it. And again, ironically, the only people in this country who have ever been lynched for political or psychological or emotional reasons by mobs have been Jews and blacks. And so we all keep finding ourselves in the same boat. The replacement theory, the lynchings, the mob riots. And the good news is, in the state of Georgia, a Jewish man and a black man have found themselves partners as senators from a state that it is very difficult to believe we've achieved some level of leadership in an otherwise very difficult time for both our peoples.
Well, that's going to segue into something else, and we're going to talk about that. Well, okay, let's get into
it. Good news.
Let's get into it. Right now, Georgia is having their primaries. So we're looking at finding the trumpeter that's going to now run against who a lot of black people would have considered the perfect candidate to be President Biden's vice president, Stacey Abrams. And also in that runoff, the election, is now the Democrats, who are the incumbents of the runoff election, now are going up against, the next Republican, whoever wins this next race. And let's see, there's one, or in fact, both candidates, Republican candidates, are backed by Donald Trump.
Yes. Well, of course. Yeah. Listen, the irony again is as far as people who are knowledgeable have informed me, the state is trending back to Republican again. I don't know if you saw this. And I'm thinking to myself, what happened to all those people that we signed up? Peoples of color, peoples of ethnicity, people of ethics, people of foresight. What happened to all those people that they haven't been polling or registering? What is going on?
I think it. I think that actual quote or status depends upon the media outlet that's pushing that fear. Because right now, in terms of the polling and the door to door, the Fair Fight campaign, getting people of color registered to vote, and not only getting them registered to vote, getting them out to vote, because that's how of course, the Jew and the black won and turned the table
Of course.
of power in the Senate.
The more
So
registered, the better the turnout. The better the turnout, the better for all of our people.
correct,
Not just Jewish and black, better for Georgia.
it's so much better. I mean, the actual, because okay, here's another thing. So the guy who's running against Stacey Abrams, he misquoted her. He said that Stacey Abrams said that Georgia is the worst place in the world to live.
Yeah, I mean, people are speaking for us and speaking for you and speaking for a lot of people, and they're putting a lot of words in our mouths, like we're puppets, like we're mannequins, and someone else is pulling our strings for their own political purposes. The irony, again, is that their political purposes are often based on pillars of fear and hate. That's
Well,
the irony that I can't live with.
of course, because they like to incite an emotion to people who already are, either race hesitant, racially guilty, or racially fearful.
And which brings us full circle to the theory of replacement, the great replacement. People are saying, look, those Jews are bringing in those black people, and those people across the border, brown and what have you, whichever colors. And I'm a little, I'm at the stage of my life, I'm getting old, where I can't believe that we're going back from the time before I was born, before you were born, where things are actually moving backwards. I grew up at a time when things were moving forward. For the last few years, we've had assassinations of black civilians on the part of blue. We've had Jews that have been ground into the ground. The highest level of hate crimes in America, you're going to find this a little strange, in the last year, perhaps 2 years, has been hate crimes have been leveled against Jews. In my lifetime as a child, I never experienced that. And so again, we find ourselves in the same boat, and it's incumbent upon us, in my opinion, this is only my opinion, it's incumbent upon ourselves to see each other not as two separate groups anymore, but as peoples that are in the same boat together. That's where I'm coming from.
Well,
because we are in the same boat, as far as I'm
okay.
concerned.
Well, Rabbi, looking at American history, the blacks and Jews have always been allies.
Well, we had some rough patches, I think, in the 70s. I'm not sure.
Yeah, a lot of that was media induced. You mean with Jesse Jackson and Hymietown?
That's the skimming of the surface. There was some other stuff, but
Or
to me, it's irrelevant. I mean, it's relevant. Everything is relevant. But to me, when you see that you're in the same little boat on the same pond, and the person sitting next to you, that you may not look like that person, you may not have the same background as that person, but you find yourself under assault in the same little lagoon, if you will. Wouldn't it be a good time to row together? Wouldn't this be a smart time to row together?
Or confirming Machiavelli, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah, well, and I want to go beyond that. I don't want a handshake. That's cool. I like a handshake. It's cool. But I'd like more of an embrace. And whatever happened in God only knows which time period, and there's many time periods in which there's blips. There's always going to be blips. And excuses. There's always going to be. I mean, even look in husbands and wives, it's never going to be smooth sailing over a 25, 35, 45 year period. It's never going to be smooth sailing. But what there can be is an understanding that it's a world out there that could use our combined help rather than our separate ways. I think it's time that we come to that understanding. Jew, Christian, Muslim, whatever. It's time that we understand that we're all the children of Abraham, and beyond. People that aren't even the children of Abraham, we're all in the same boat. And it's time we understand that and go for the embrace.
Yeah. Well, there are. See, here's the problem with, and let me back up what you were saying a little bit. The period of moving backwards, where we thought that we were progressing. We thought that we were progressing at the 2008 election of President Obama.
Mm.
We thought that we have come to a period in American history where we can unite and come together for the good of the country and for the understanding. We thought and believed that, the unattainable position for a person of color of being the most powerful private citizen in the known world had changed that. What we got was pushback.
Yeah. Well, on that same level, people keep saying, at least people have said, that part of what brought Trump to power was having, Barack Obama as president, as not only pushback, but freak out back. Like, oh my God, we got a black president. What the hell went wrong?
Of course.
They put it in the parlance of, he's not born in America, he's a Muslim. That's the parlance that they used. And therefore he's not one of us.
Oh, you mean birtherism?
Birtherism, yeah, that's how Trump got his big start.
Yes.
He said, he kept using the expression Barack Hussein Obama. What's that about? That's about Islam. And look at him, he's a black man, and his father obviously is from Kenya or wherever the hell he's from. And he grew up in Hawaii, which is too far from our borders. So, you know what? By the way, you could almost hear Trump say, and I bet the Jews masterminded it, except there was a bunch of Jews. I could almost hear that because, remember, you had all these Jews in the Democratic Party, but then we discovered there were Jews in the Republican Party. We discovered that there were Jews under everybody's rock in the backyard. So, but he picked and chose which people he was going to shoot at. So, the black woman he hires into the White House is Omarosa. Talk about a great spokesman for peoples of color. I don't know if you remember Omarosa.
Of course. Well, she was another one who lost her black card.
Yeah, right. Well, faded away. It was a genetic decentralization. Anyway.
I think that was by unanimous decision.
Yeah, I think you guys probably met in a separate little courthouse and decided to, excommunicate her from the.
It was
off the island.
It was the largest Zoom meeting in Zoom history.
Right. But you know what? I'm a little surprised that after you guys, kind of sent her off the island.
Whoa! Hey, yo, Rabbi, what you mean by you guys?
Well, I mean, like all the black people out there probably had a vote in Congress about Omarosa. But you should have gone to Clarence right afterward. And then, of course, Clarence marries Ginny, all right? And she does her darndest. And by the way, and beyond. When people say, what about her emails? I don't mean Hillary Clinton. I mean Ginny
Thomas.
What about her emails? She's emailing Arizona. She's emailing swing states, put in new electors, reject the election. She's in touch with the White House chief of staff asking to declare martial law. And she's married to somebody who is, you might say, just by accident, happens to be a person of color. But as I've said to you before, Vincent, race in America may not be strictly about color. There might be some other issues involved in race in America.
No. Race in America is about color. Ignorance in America is not limited to color.
Okay. Fair enough.
I mean, look. There are just as many jackasses on either side of the spectrum or rainbow, whichever you want to call
them. Right. Well, this brings me back to something I said maybe a couple years ago on one of the shows that, there's a number of class issues, both within the Jewish community and I think other white communities, and I think in the black community as well. And I'm going to give you an example from the black community, and you can tell me if I'm off base, and I welcome your criticisms here. But I understand that in the plantation world, which I never saw, I've only read about, in the plantation world, there were people in the fields doing field work, and there were other people that were learning crafts, but still working out beyond. But there was some people of color that were brought into the house of the mansion of the massa.
Oh,
And those,
you must have
and those,
caught one of my
go ahead.
earlier shows where we talked about
Yes, yes.
the casting system of slaves. They
Right.
had a
And the
hierarchy.
casting system, it seems to me, in looking at history, and I could be wrong about this, and I see this as a religious thing, by the way. I don't see this as strictly an issue of race. And I see it as an issue of class as well, but it's class superimposed on a people. In other words, if I give you special privileges, I give you a nice set of clothes and I put you in the house, you're going to develop a natural non-affinity to those people out there that you could just as easily be if you go out there or if you're sent out there. And it creates a dichotomy in the communities, or as you would say, a caste.
And then there
So, yeah,
and then there was the level that was below them, which were the was informants.
of course.
They would speak to the master and talk with him about who's planning to poison who, or who's
Right.
planning to escape or revolt.
Right.
But we're going to take a break, and I'll be right back with Rabbi Seth Fresh from New Shoal of America.
Thank you.
And I'll see you all in 2 minutes and 2 seconds.
Life has many twists and turns, and it can take you off track. Joe's Flow is here to help you dance through the twists and lean into the turns. From spiritual trauma-informed life coaching, to book publishing, to record producing, to credit empowerment, to amazing travel, we are here to change your whole life. Let us help you get your life back on track.
Your small business struggled through the pandemic to stay afloat. You need more exposure. Radio and printed ads are good for pet liners. Television commercials are overpriced. Social media ads start cheap, end up expenses. You need an ad team that can get you multimedia exposure. You need MyTV. MyTV will develop a commercial tailored to your business. To get your maximum sales, contact sales@theratemytv.church.
Where, into a world where, you know what, they don't have to go through the anxieties that we went through or suffered. And yet, the closer we go to that, there are always events that get blown or that are disproportionately marketed on the media to take you back to where you had your greatest anxiety. There are events now where a guy says that, I don't want blacks and Jews to replace me, so I want to start off shooting up a black supermarket where they all congregate because I don't want them to grow up and take my job. or you get some woman who is a political leader, yet spewing the most ignorant things that could ever come out of a human being's mouth. Like, like there's an ethnic group that has a space cannon or a space laser that are, assassinating people.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. So we work hard on, building and fighting these things now because we don't want our children to go through this.
Let me expand that. I don't want to go through it anymore. I told you earlier in the show, and I've said it many times, I really thought our society, our world here was progressing. I had every indication things were doing well. But I've been reminded recently, and I think you know this, that some things just don't fade away. Or as soon as we push it out, we push it away and we surge forward. There's, like you were saying, with regard to the arrival of the last president, not the one we have now, but the arrival of the last president, was pushback on progress. It was pushback. And so, and I look at Stacey Abrams right now, and down in Georgia, and all the work that she did to help Georgia progress forward. Okay, maybe I'm looking at the wrong media outlets, as you had said, but I'm seeing that there's pushback on that too. And I see it in all these legislatures across the country, pushback on the progress that we've been making. And when I say progress, I mean progressive, loving, embracing progress, pushback in 2022. It's mind-numbing to me.
Because you don't think that, they had, a surge of over hundreds of thousands of new Republicans move into the state of Georgia, do you?
Well, anywhere in the country where they're passing these laws.
Of course.
And by the way, go to that manifesto. I shouldn't even call it a manifesto. Go to those rambling thoughts on Facebook and social media of this young thug criminal.
I read it.
Right? And he shoots 10 people of color probably more, but 10 lose their lives, which is not a number lost on a Jew as a minion, as a prayer quorum. It's never going to be a number lost on me, God forbid. But he shoots those people, and then he talks about how the white race, as if there is even, it's hard for me to comprehend this, but that we're just, he says we're just not having enough children anymore. Our birth rates are going down, and thus, all these Jewish doctors are able to deliver more black babies to increase the black population in America.
Hold on for just 1 second. So how are they delivering all of these black babies when black women are dying from pregnancy and birth 4-1?
Well, okay, that's easy. That's easy in his words to describe because these doctors, these Jews are really good at doctoring. That's the view out there. These Jews are good at doctoring, and so black people who used to lose children all the time because we never paid much attention to their birthing or their OBGYN needs, we didn't pay much attention. So they were losing all those children, and no one really cared because they were black children. But now these Jews come in there, and they seem to be caring. They care about all their patients. It's incredible, the racism and the anti-Semitism that's even involved in this backhanded compliment to these quote-unquote Jewish doctors who are doing all of us white people a disservice by increasing the black rate of birth and healthy babies that are being born. It's mind-boggling that this can be published on social media. And by the way, let me just add parenthetically, and no one seems to pay attention until he kills 10 people.
Of course they pay attention because this is what's going on. In the 60s, the 70s, and parts of the 80s, what was the number one seller in the media?
I don't know.
Sex.
Oh, okay, of course, yeah.
If it had sex appeal, people would buy it. Now, do you know what's the number one seller in the media? Race. No. Racial ignorant outbursts.
Oh, I got you.
And the number one peddler of this race baiting is Fox News, where this kid lived day and night, where he would go through a great deal of hours of hearing this false misinformation by a group of people who are just spouting out this misinformation because it drives ratings.
Yeah. Well, it's a drug. People want they want more of that. I mean, look at the ratings of Tucker Carlson, who is the greatest proponent and, as you would say, peddler of the great replacement theory. Tucker Carlson,
Exactly.
mainstream on Fox. These people used to be. These ideas were so far on the fringes. I got news for you, my good friend Vincent. I got news for you. These ideas, these theories, these words have come from the fringes into the mainstream. Tucker
Correct.
Carlson is not a bit actor. You have others on that show, and you have them all over the internet. I mean, he is just the most visible of all of them that I can even conjure up. I shouldn't even be mentioning his name, because if you mention his name, you just give him. I shouldn't even mention his name.
Everybody wants to be now the next Rush Limbaugh, who was the author of conspiracy theories. He and Trump masterfully thought of birtherism. And then, of course, when the economy was in the toilet under George Herbert Walker Bush and Barack Hussein Obama got in, the price of gas started going down, inflation started dropping down, people started having more disposable income. What did Rush Limbaugh said? I told everybody the economy was straightened up just just by itself alone. Really?
Right. Snap back.
So it didn't straighten up under the 8 years of Bush, right?
Right.
It just snapped. It just happened to snap back all by itself when the black man gets into office. Well, look at the other bullcrap that Tucker Carlson said yesterday, and I want my producer to see if he can find this clip. Tucker Carlson called Vice President Kamala Harris a low-educated wine mob.
A wine? Like wine?
Yes, as in liquor, wine. Yes.
I don't even know where to go with that. I don't even know what to do with that, other than, why didn't he just call her a hoe? Why didn't he just finish out the sentence?
He did call her a hoe.
I didn't understand your parlance, your clip parlance, but I think that's what Tucker Carlson's trying to say. She's a woman of color, therefore she's a hoe. That's just seems straight to me.
Right. She's a wine drinking, not responsible for herself, her words, or her actions.
Right.
So yeah, exactly. Wine mom, or basically in the
so you never heard anything about Kamala Harris during the 2020 presidential campaign that wasn't about her
in school has a cocktail at the country club.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, look,
the country wakes
again,
up the
I
next
don't really
morning.
want to go into his name too much, because I feel like we're just getting people to go watch him. Although
So
some
you
of the
never heard
clips
anything about Kamala Harris during the 2020 presidential campaign that wasn't about
some
her
of the clips
inspiring.
could easily be exacted from that show and put on Saturday Night Live, and then put a laugh track in, and without even changing his words. But it's so dangerous what he says, in my opinion. It's so dangerous, especially with regard to this idea of humor. It's so dangerous that I actually want to cry when I think about what he's done, and others like him, to the progress of what I enjoy.
What we have to do is basically hold these guys accountable for their words. When politicians are campaigning, we hold them accountable for their words, and the media has always been a reliable source. In fact, 45 during his campaign, both of them had increased the level of fact checkers 20-1. I mean, it took 20-1. It took 20 fact checkers to go around chasing their tails over what 45 said, to the one fact checker who was following around Barack Obama. That's how much disinformation and misinformation has now become mainstream.
Right, and I would add to that very briefly. I'm sorry, I just want to say that.
No, after you do that, take us to break.
Anything about Kamala Harris?
Well, let me just say that when you get to that level, you might say, "Oh, glory be to God, we now have someone fact checking." But no, that's an indication of an illness, of lies that are presented as truth, and the truth doesn't set you free The truth hurts you and holds you in bondage. That's how I understand that.
Okay, take us to break, Rabbi.
Well, we've had a very spirited discussion, which even though I'm really today only one of the three, and thank God I have Vincent Squire with me, and I just want to say this conversation, we should expand on this every week. We should be talking about this every week, but we're going to come back in 2 minutes and 2 seconds so that we can continue this conversation that needs great expansion and greater understanding.
Your small business struggled through the pandemic to stay afloat. You need more exposure. Radio and printed ads are good for pet liners. Television commercials are overpriced. Social media ads start cheap, end up expenses. You need an ad team that can get you multimedia exposure. You need MyTV. MyTV will develop a commercial tailored to your business. To get your maximum sales, contact sales@theratemytv.church.
Life has many twists and turns, and it can take you off track. Disaka Joe's Flow is here to help you dance through the twists and lean into the turns. From spiritual trauma-informed life coaching, to book publishing, to record producing, to credit empowerment, to amazing travel, we are here to change your whole life. Let us help you get your life back on track.
Okay, so here's Tucker. So much for our
Looking for a free project management solution? That's actually free. With ClickUp, here's just a taste of what you can get for free. Use Docs to collaborate.
So you never heard anything about Kamala Harris during the 2020 presidential campaign that wasn't about her inspiring firstness. She's black and Indian. She's a first. You must be excited. So she gets elected, and the country wakes up the next morning and realizes, wait, we just elected a low IQ wine mom as vice president. So the administration tried to give her jobs. Hey, fix the border. Wait, get Russia to pull back and not invade Ukraine. That didn't work. So now she's become, and a lot of people do become this in middle age, is kind of a freelance philosopher. She's like a dyslexic poet with a limited vocabulary. She just kind of bombs around the country, emitting words. And they're hilarious.
Stop right there. A low IQ wine mob. This is how he addressed the Vice President of the United States. Listen, first thing they should do is send the IRS after not only Tucker Carlson, but Fox. You know, let's send him all up Rupert's butt and let him reconsider what he's doing. Okay. Second thing is what they should do is actually arrest him, because it is illegal in this country to produce propaganda.
Oh my God! If that's illegal, a lot of people are going to jail, Vince.
Oh well, yeah.
if they get arrested for that.
Well, the problem is that nobody persecutes him except for the guy in Mount Laurel who spit all that propaganda and racial slurs and invited the whole state of New York to come holler at him, as he said, which took a riot squad of Mount Laurel police to get him arrested. But yeah, I think that I cannot. I get so upset about comments like that minimize, diminish, and basically, erase the history that she has made.
I remember years ago a commentator during Barack Obama's original inauguration saying the juxtaposition of Barack Hussein Obama on the fields outside of the Congress all the way to the Washington Monument, his standing there and looking back in history, knowing that there had originally been cages holding Black people as slaves on the same land, that he couldn't, almost like on a bifurcated screen of history, he couldn't, overcome the irony of these two moments in history, that you would have a Black man inaugurated as president of the United States on ground that was also holding cages of enslaved Black Americans, and that was overwhelming to this person. And I have to say, when you talk about firsts in history, the thinking person, the thinking man or woman, will look back in history and will not be able to really escape the irony when you look at all that has happened, how we've gone forward. But the same thinking man will say, why are we now in the 2020s? Why do we find ourselves now moving backwards? How is that possible?
Okay, because of fear. Because of fear of retaliation. There is a great deal of the white society who believe that once the Black man is in power because he's assisted and manipulated by the Jewish mastermind, that they will unleash a great deal of retribution and retaliation against the white race. Or, as Tucker Carlson said, there'll be watermelon and chicken eaten on your front lawn on a daily basis.
Yeah. And by the way, taking your job and sleeping with your daughter.
Yes.
Because your daughter wants that over-sexualization of the Black man as presented, for the past couple of hundred years. I do find it interesting in reading the New York Times of
course they are. I mean, who else wants a white woman but a Black man? The white men don't want white women. They want the over-sexualization woman.
Right. Well, I'm intrigued by this ongoing piece that the New York Times is running about the history of Haiti and how after the Haitian Revolution, in which the slave class, created a revolution and overcame the white ruling class, and the effect that had in America, where legislatures and government in America kept saying over and over again, we have to be careful that could inspire the same thing here in America.
Fear.
And a lot of these whites from Haiti moved to America and helped spread the hatred of the Black man out of what you put your finger on, and that is fear of what they might do if given the power.
Of course.
If given my job and my daughter, what else could that white man do? Excuse me, what else could that Black man do? He can replace us. And I'll bet the Jews are behind it. That's what's going on.
Well, we've got a couple of minutes. And, we really got off the topic for the day, all because, one, we didn't have the rest of the wise ones. And
we need those wise ones for the topic, right?
Yeah.
We were going to talk about prayer, Vincent, and let's just say my prayer, and I don't think it's too myopic, but it's my prayer. My prayer is that we begin to understand, as I said earlier, that we're in the same boat and we have the same God, and we should be working together in the service of that God, because We are all God's children, and we should be working together as one in recognition, one God, one people, one human race, one future, one positive path forward if we hold hands and embrace and move in that direction. That's my feeling.
Well, my feeling is more of revelations. The revelations that Nas, the rapper, was right.
What did he say?
He said, you fear what you don't understand, and you hate what you can't conquer. They fear what they don't understand. They don't understand the black man or his plight, or how after 400 years of slavery, we're still striving to rise. Hate what they can't conquer. You can't conquer his spirit or desire or will once he sets his mind to it. They hate the simple fact that 3 words change the face and the model of what an American president can be. 3 simple words. Yes, we can. Hate what they can't conquer. The spirit of being oppressed. Yet even in the fact of being oppressed, we can say, we shall overcome. Deep in my heart, I believe we shall overcome someday. Or, as my favorite song says, I was born by the river in a little tent. Just like that river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long, long time, but I know my change is going to come. They cannot conquer our faith, the belief in the God of our understanding, that God that has so much delivering power that he can turn people from slaves to, rulers like Joseph. And he can do it again. That faith and understanding that, you know what, if we live long enough, we'll see our change come. That fear that they can't conquer. That no matter what we go through, there's still a level of quality and a standard called Black excellence that most of us live by and we work hard to achieve. They fear what they can't conquer. You can conquer a man's body and you can chain it. But what can you do to actually conquer his spirit? And that's one thing we got a lot of. So I'd like to thank you, Rabbi, for your inspiring words and your wisdom on the matter of race in America. And for those of you watching, stay tuned tomorrow. We're going to talk about burnout with Dr. Capri Carr. And I will see you all, if God's will, tomorrow, 5 o'clock. Love you.
Your small business struggled through the pandemic to stay afloat. You need more exposure. Radio and printed ads are good for pet liners. Television commercials are overpriced. Social media ads start cheap, end up expenses. You need an ad team that can get you multimedia exposure. You need MyTV. MyTV will develop a commercial tailored to your business. To get your maximum sales, contact sales@theratemytv.church.
Life has many twists and turns, and it can take you off track. Disaka Joe's Flow is here to help you dance through the twists and lean into the turns. From spiritual trauma-informed life coaching, to book publishing, to record producing, to credit empowerment, to amazing travel, we are here to change your whole life. Let us help you get your life back on track.